The concept of the Philistine giants within the context of unearthed secrets, Philistine giants and the David versus Goliath clash, refers to the interpretation of ancient accounts, primarily biblical narratives, and archaeological findings that suggest the existence of an extraordinary group of individuals known for their immense size. The most renowned of these giants is Goliath, whose story of confrontation with David is a cornerstone of biblical history. The Philistine giants are often depicted as formidable warriors and significant adversaries of the Israelites in the Old Testament, representing not just physical but also moral and cultural challenges. Understanding the Philistine giants is crucial as it adds depth to the narrative of David versus Goliath, highlighting themes of bravery, faith, and the triumph of the underdog. The giants symbolize seemingly insurmountable obstacles, and their presence in the narrative amplifies the significance of David's victory, transforming it into a timeless tale of overcoming adversity. One real-world application of this concept is in the field of archaeology, where researchers have sought evidence of the giants in ancient ruins and texts, attempting to understand the historical and cultural context of the Philistines. For instance, the discovery of large skeletal remains or unique architectural elements in Philistine-controlled areas can potentially provide insights into their society and validate ancient texts. Another example is the use of this narrative in literature and modern storytelling, where the David and Goliath metaphor is frequently employed to describe scenarios where smaller, less powerful entities confront and overcome larger dominant forces. There are opinions that support the idea of Philistine giants as a reflection of the historical and mythological blending, suggesting that these accounts serve to enhance the storytelling of biblical narratives. The stories of giants are seen as embellishments that conveyed deeper moral and spiritual lessons to ancient audiences. However, challenges and controversies exist, particularly concerning the literal interpretation of these narratives. Skeptics argue that the stories of giants are mythological rather than historical, and that archaeological evidence has yet to definitively prove their existence. Some scholars propose alternative explanations, viewing giants as symbolic representations of the Philistines' strength rather than actual beings. The concept of Philistine giants interconnects with broader themes in the main topic, influencing how we perceive ancient conflicts and the cultural exchanges between ancient peoples. It also informs our understanding of how historical narratives are constructed and the ways in which they resonate through time, shaping modern interpretations and values. The historical context of the David versus Goliath clash is rooted in the ancient narrative of the Israelites and the Philistines, two rival groups in the Levant during the Iron Age. This legendary encounter is detailed in the Hebrew Bible, where young David, an Israelite shepherd, defeats Goliath, a towering champion of the Philistines, with a simple sling. This story is not just a tale of individual bravery, but a representation of the cultural and military tensions between these two groups. Understanding this context is crucial to appreciating the broader narrative of unearthed secrets, Philistine giants, and the David versus Goliath clash, as it highlights the monumental cultural and historical interplay that shaped the story. One significant aspect of this historical context is the demonstration of the classic underdog triumph, which has transcended its origins to become a metaphor in diverse fields. The David versus Goliath motif is frequently used to depict situations where a smaller, weaker entity faces a much larger, more powerful opponent, whether in sports, business competition, or social justice movements. The tale's potency lies in its universal message of strategic intellect and faith overcoming sheer might and intimidation. In real-world scenarios, the story has often been cited in contexts like the legal battle between startup companies challenging industry giants, similar to the case of Silicon Valley startups disrupting established corporations. Another example is seen in sports, where underdog teams overcoming seemingly invincible opponents are often referred to as David slaying Goliath. While the David versus Goliath narrative is inspirational, some reinterpretations challenge its simplicity. Critics often point out that it underplays factors such as tactical acumen, resources, and the socio-political landscape, which may have contributed to the Israelites' victory. Furthermore, archaeological discoveries and scholarly debates continue about the actual dimensions of Goliath and whether the Philistines indeed deployed giants, adding layers of complexity to the understanding of this epical clash. This historical context enriches the broader narrative by linking legendary accounts with archaeological and scholarly investigations to unearth truths about the Philistines' culture and their confrontation with the Israelites. It reflects a confluence of myth, history, and social narratives, informing modern interpretations and reinforcing the enduring allure of the David versus Goliath story in both historical and contemporary analyses. Archaeological insights into the Philistine culture offer a fascinating window into a civilization shrouded in mystery and myth, particularly in the context of the legendary clash between David and Goliath. The Philistines, often depicted as adversaries in biblical narratives, were an ancient people who settled along the coastal regions of modern-day Israel and Gaza around the 12th century BCE. Archaeological excavations have been instrumental in revealing the complexities of Philistine society, from their origins to their daily lives, providing a more nuanced understanding of these historical figures. Uncovering the artifacts and architectural remains of Philistine cities, such as Ashkelon, Ekron, and Gath, has been crucial in piecing together their cultural and social structures. These sites have unearthed evidence of advanced urban planning, diverse craftsmanship, and unique religious practices, highlighting the Philistines' influence and integration within the broader tapestry of ancient Near Eastern civilizations. This archaeological exploration lends significant weight to their role in the David versus the Goliath narrative by humanizing the once mythic giants and offering insight into their societal context. Two notable examples stand out in archaeological studies. First, the discovery of the Philistine cemetery in Ashkelon, which included over 200 individuals, provided rare insights into Philistine burial customs, genetic makeup, and daily life. This find challenged previous assumptions about their origins and emphasized their integration into Canaanite culture. Secondly, the excavation at Tel es-Safi, identified as the biblical Gath, revealed massive fortifications and evidence of a violent destruction layer, supporting historical accounts of conflict and providing a tangible link to the story of Goliath. Some scholars posit that these archaeological findings validate the historical plausibility of biblical accounts, suggesting that the legendary clash between David and Goliath may have roots in real historical conflict. However, not all interpretations align. Critics argue that the blending of myth and history in ancient texts complicates straightforward validation, and some suggest that the Goliath narrative is more symbolic than literal. The insight into Philistine culture enhances the understanding of their role in the larger narrative tapestry, portraying them as a sophisticated and influential society rather than one-dimensional antagonists. This depth influences other aspects of the story, shedding light on the intercultural exchanges and conflicts of the era. Ultimately, these archaeological insights bridge the gap between legend and history, enriching the narrative of the David versus Goliath clash by situating it within a real and vibrant cultural framework. The heading, Analysis of Ancient Texts Depicting Giants, delves into the examination of historical and biblical writings that reference giants, particularly in the context of the Philistines, and famous accounts such as the David versus Goliath narrative. Giants in ancient texts are often portrayed as formidable, larger-than-life figures that embody both physical enormity and symbolic challenges. They appear in various cultural myths and religious stories, representing obstacles that must be faced and overcome, thus carrying significant metaphorical weight. The significance of analyzing these ancient texts lies in understanding the cultural and historical context surrounding the depiction of giants. In the case of the Philistines and the story of David and Goliath, these texts provide insights into the values, fears, and societal narratives of the time. They help us comprehend how such stories were used to convey messages of faith, courage, and divine intervention, shaping the beliefs and identity of entire communities. One specific example is the biblical account of Goliath in the Hebrew Bible, where he is described as a Philistine giant defeated by the young David. This story has been a powerful symbol of the triumph of underdog courage and faith over seemingly insurmountable adversity. Another example is found in the Book of Enoch, where giants, referred to as the Nephilim, are depicted as offspring of divine beings and human women, representing a transgression that leads to divine retribution. These stories reflect not only spiritual and moral lessons, but also illustrate the human fascination with the unknown and the extraordinary. Some scholars and theologians argue that these texts should be viewed metaphorically rather than literally, emphasizing the allegorical lessons they offer. However, there are challenges and controversies associated with interpreting these texts. For one, the historical and archaeological evidence for the existence of giants remains highly debated. Skeptics argue that the concept of giants is more mythological than factual, rooted in ancient storytelling traditions rather than historical events. The analysis of these texts influences other aspects of the main topic by offering a deeper understanding of the socio-cultural environment of ancient civilizations. It bridges the gap between mythology, history, and literature, inviting modern audiences to explore how such stories have been preserved and adapted over time. In doing so, it prompts reflection on how we interpret the past and its tales, encouraging a multifaceted exploration of both the literal and symbolic giants in history.